One of the things we love to do here at Trinity Church is to introduce people to Jesus Christ. And it might be that you've come across this video because a friend of yours has suggested that you look at this series, or it might be that you're here because you've got certain questions and you're looking for answers. And we certainly do hope that this series of videos will be of use to you. I suppose a lot of people, when they start wondering about these things, start asking the big question, how do you know that there even is a God? And it is a big question, isn't it? If there is no God, then you and I are both wasting our time. But if there is a God, well, that changes just about everything that you can think of. And so often people say, do you have any evidence that God exists? Well, there are certain things that should at least give us a sneaking suspicion, I suspect. Let me mention just three. The first one is that if you look back in history over the many people groups that have been upon this planet, you'll discover time and time again a universal belief in a God. Some supreme being seems to be believed by people groups wherever you look over history. Now that seems a little bit suspicious, and while that doesn't tell you beyond doubt that there certainly is a God, and it certainly doesn't tell you anything about that God, it does make you wonder why it's like that. One of the things the Bible says is that God has planted eternity in the hearts of men and women. And so it would make sense that if you look over time, over the many different people groups that have existed on this planet, that again and again you would find people who have a searching heart, who have thoughts about an eternal being. Like I said, that doesn't prove anything, but it does make you suspicious. And it may be that that sense of eternity in you is the very thing that's brought you to these videos. The second thing that people often point to is the universe in which we live. I've been told there are 300 billion stars in our galaxy alone, which is such a big number it probably doesn't mean much to you or me. But if we were to start counting those stars one by one, it would take us 34,000 years to count them all. There's such a complexity and beauty about the universe which you only notice when you go out on a dark night and look up into the sky and see the countless stars, of which we only see a fraction that are there, and you can start to appreciate it. But of course then you can visit different places on our own planet. There are mountains to climb and there are oceans to swim, and there are valleys and there are deserts, all of astounding beauty. And time again, as we see those things, we are just left in wonder and awe at the beauty that we see all around us. Now, if you saw a wonderful painting and you asked someone how that painting came about, and they said to you it just came about by accident, I think you'd be a little shocked, and you'd find it very hard to believe. In not a dissimilar way, as you look around the universe in which we live, it's hard not to be suspicious that there isn't a wonderful artist behind it all who's created it and made it beautiful in the way that it is. One of the things the Bible says is that the heavens declare the glory of God and the skies proclaim his handiwork. And time again, we're told in the Bible that as you look around, it should leave you thinking, well, there is a God and he's big and he's powerful. It at least should leave us a bit suspicious. Well, the third thing people point to is you and me. We really are quite incredibly complex creatures. We're made up of 50 trillion cells, and inside each of those cells you'll find a database, an instruction manual on how to put us together. It's called our DNA. And if you were to take that DNA out of each of those cells and sticky tape them all together, unravelled, they would reach all the way from the Earth to the Moon, over 8,000 times, so I'm told. Not that I've tried to do that. But it does make you ask the question, how did we come about? Now, some people say, well, the answer to that is evolution. And that's fine. Lots of people say that. But evolution certainly doesn't tell us how life came about to begin with. Maybe it describes the complexity that we see on our planet and in you and me. Maybe it doesn't. But it certainly doesn't account for how life started. It seems to be a mystery to us. And of course there are other things, aren't there, like love. Is love just an interaction of chemicals in your body? And if it is, don't tell your spouse that on your romantic dinner together. It'll take all the romance out, I can assure you. Or courage. Is courage just an evolutionary trait? If it is, it doesn't seem to account for true courage when we see it. It seems to be something more than just that, something bigger, more noble. Is it that God has put us together? That we're not just a sack of chemicals, but there's something else that is a part of us that make us more than just chemicals. Like I said, these things don't prove beyond doubt that there is a God. But boy, they make you suspicious. Well, we could keep on going looking at such evidence as I've already stated. But what you find at the end of the day is that it leaves you with a suspicion, but it doesn't give you the sort of evidence that I think people are looking for. What you'll find over and over again with Christians is it's not something that has convinced them that there is a God, but rather it's someone. It's Jesus Christ. In the Bible, what you read is this from Hebrews chapter 1. It says, "Long ago, at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets. And in these last days he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed the heir of all things, and through whom he has created the world." It's Jesus Christ who claims to be God and who lived and who died and who rose again that convinces Christians that he really is who he says he is and that there is a God. And so I say to anyone who says, how can you know that there is a God? I say, why don't you investigate Jesus Christ and see if he is the person he claims to be? I tell you, if you do, I think you'll find you like him. He's hard not to like. But how do you investigate Jesus Christ? Well, the way to do that is to read about him in the pages of the Bible, and in particular in one of the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke or John. That's a great place to start, and I think the best place to start in answering the question, how can I know there is a God? And how can I know that Jesus is God?